Hey, so I'm here with Charlotte Ord. So basically, first I'm going to give you a bit of background on Charlotte. So I want to talk about her. She was personal trainer of the year 2010. She also made this awesome studio. I'll just give you a little flash. You can see, which is pretty cool, Phoenix Pro Fitness. And she also presents on the Active channel. I think it's Sky 281. So technically a celebrity as well. And then she writes for Women's Fitness Magazine, Men's Health, Triathlete Magazine, and I think there's a couple of others. But those are kind of the background, and she taught me kettlebells in 2008. So she's done a few things, big stuff, big stuff. So how are you, Charlotte?
I'm very well, thank you, Ollie.
Cool, cool. So a couple of questions really. We kind of want to go simple. First one is, I think, kind of, what do you think like the most important sort of areas when trying to get in shape to look at?
I think you have to look at three things. First of all, your nutrition, because you cannot out-train a bad diet. Second, you need to look at your training. Because obviously when you're looking at creating a negative energy balance, which is what you're eventually ultimately going to need to lose fat, rather than just kind of reducing calorie intake, you know, if you've got a good exercise plan in place as well, it means you're going to burn off a lot more calories that way as well. So, you know, it's therefore much more maintainable than just being on a low-calorie diet, which we all know is pretty miserable. And finally, your mindset, because if your thoughts aren't in the right place, you know, eventually you're going to boycott yourself, and it's all going to fall to pot. So, you really need to get yourself into a positive mental attitude. Make sure you've got a really good support system around you that's going to, you know, encourage you, you know, pick you up when you're feeling down, celebrate with you when you're doing really well, and really get things on track that way.
Awesome, awesome. You need to be my trainer. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you think are like the biggest kind of mistakes that people make? Maybe 2 or 3 big mistakes people make.
I think the main mistake everyone makes at some point or other is reducing calories so low that you either have a complete willpower failure and then just binge, or you know, go back to square one because you just can't maintain it, or you know, if you are successful, you know, you totally kind of put out your metabolic fire. So, and what I mean by that is that by not giving your body enough fuel, the body's not stupid. It doesn't want you to starve to death. So it basically holds on to all those fat, the fat in the adipose tissue, and will actually start breaking down muscle instead, which is our most metabolically active tissue. So we want to maintain that muscle tissue as much as possible, and therefore, you know, very, very low calorie diets for prolonged periods are not the way forward if you want to sort of maintain your results.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, what kind of things do you think going into diet a bit? What do you think people should be basing on? So what sort of nutrition, just like little tips, what are your ideas?
I think there are a few main principles. Firstly, if we're talking real sort of basic things you want to implement today, first of all, make sure you're nicely hydrated, because if you're not hydrated, it's going to, you know, have an impact on pretty much every single metabolic reaction that goes on in your body, as well as, you know, impact your health as well. So make sure you're really well hydrated. I'd keep carbohydrates as far as possible to either post-training or first thing in the morning, particularly starchy carbs. By that I don't mean vegetables, that's different, but things like your potatoes, your rice, pasta, all that kind of stuff, you're going to have it post-training. The reason being that if you have it sort of at any other time, it tends to just get stored as fat, whereas post-training it will replace glycogen stores that have just been burnt up. So, you know, fine to have them, but keep them around training if you can, or first thing in the morning when they're going to likely to get broken, burnt down over the course of the day. I'd try and have a decent lean protein source every single meal, and also try and eat frequently. There's a lot of sort of controversy about, you know, whether eating regularly is good or not. Personally, I believe that from a point of view of keeping blood sugar levels level and avoiding slumps, and also I find that having people eat more regularly, mentally it's much easier to stick to. As soon as people start getting hungry, you get that, oh, I must have something now thing. Exactly, and that's when, you know, the best intentions go out of the window. So eat regularly, lots of vegetables. There's a saying, you know, 5 a day. I think 10 a day is probably more realistic, but actually it's quite achievable if you spread them out through the day. And you're eating 5 or 6 times. You can have some, you know, chopped veg or whatever. It's quite easy to do, but again, it's just getting into a habit, and lots of preparation. So cut up veg at the beginning of the week that are going to last you through, so you can just go, and there's easy to grab as your nasty foods. That way it's a lot easier to stick to.
Great stuff, great tips. Cool, I like that, nice and simple. Okay, like, what's your view? Because I know this is kind of a bit of a minefield here. Definitely, people always get confused about supplements. So,
Right.
you know, I'm quite a fan of a basic to start with, but I want to see kind of what your ideas of what supplements and how to kind of get in there a bit.
Okay, I think, as you say, Ollie, that if you can get the majority of your vitamins and minerals from real food sources, it's a good thing. I do like a green supplement for people that don't have enough sort of fruit and veg in their diet. For people that are aiming for fat loss, should be aiming for a 4-to-1 ratio of vegetables to fruit per day with 10 servings of each. So, and that can be difficult for some people, particularly people that don't like fruit and veg. So rather than having them be depleted, I'd rather they have a green supplement which is going to help them get those nutrients in. It's 1 drink a day, maybe, possibly 2, and it's just a lot more achievable. Likewise, a good all-round multivitamin is a good addition. Fish oil, one of the only supplements that's actually been proven to accelerate the rate at which fats metabolize, always a good addition for everyone. And there's various other, vitamin C, very important for a variety of sort of immune system related benefits. And flaxseed oil for women, because as well as having a lot of other sort of health optimizing benefits, really good for good breast tissue health. So I have my lady sort of trainings on that as well.
Awesome, I like that, how they're all health-based supplements. You know, there's nothing there, crazy stuff like a protein or anything. It's all like vitamins and minerals, which I think everyone needs to get back to, and some greens if they can get it in supplement form.
Yeah.
That's cool. Okay, going back onto the last bit now, kind of training. What's the sort of things, just approximately stuff that people should almost always do in the gym, kind of to get the best results anyway?
Okay, so I think number one, the kind of fat loss hierarchy is always resistance training. Yeah. Women tend to shirk away from this, because they don't have any experience of it, and not having experience of lifting weights can be scary. But also a lot of women fear getting big and bulky, and to be honest, my guys struggle to get mass on, and that's because of our testosterone levels. So unless you really are high in testosterone for a woman or a man, or you're very good at either manipulating or injecting steroids, you're unlikely to get actually that much bigger. But what does happen is your muscle gets much denser. And as I said earlier, the more muscle tissue you have, the more metabolically active you are, and so the more calories you're going to burn even at rest. And so that's why we prioritise strength training first of all, and then high intensity interval training afterwards, which is basically, rather than doing long steady state bursts of running or cycling or anything else, we do really intensive, hard, fast bursts of work interspersed with periods of rest. And research hasn't shown yet what physiologically actually happens when you do that, but it has been proven time and time again that it's a lot more effective at raising metabolic rate and burning calories than your steady state counterpart. So yeah, those are the 2 things that I do to prioritise in the gym.
Awesome, and just to get this clear, I want to put it clear that Charlotte does do weight training and she's not looking like a man. So it definitely works. But I think she's looking like a man, so cool. Last thing we want to go through, because I know you're pretty good at this, you broke your ankle and you can still manage to stay in shape. So what sort of things have you managed to do that to keep yourself motivated and go on track? Because I know I find it, we all can go off track.
Yeah, sure. I set goals. So, as Ollie said, I broke my ankle really recently, it's 3 months ago. Trained throughout, and obviously my priorities changed like that, because I went from wanting to compete in, I had a 10k book that I was training quite seriously for, and I want to go on to an Ironman. Obviously, being on one leg, not really going to be running very far. So, the goals had to change and adapt, and it became about, being back on 2 feet without crutches ASAP. So the moral of the story, my goals are kind of neither here nor there, but the point is have goals, write them down, set what you're going to do, set a time frame. So yeah, I want to be running a 10k in 8 weeks, and then break it down backwards. So, find out where you are now, determine what it is you want to achieve, and then work out the steps that you need to do each week to get you from A to B. Because if you take care of the step that you've set out for each week, the end result will come. It's a bit like weight loss, if you want to lose 10 stone, saying I want to lose 10 stone just seems like this huge hurdle, whereas if 10 stone is, obviously for some people is realistic, but for a lot of people doesn't resonate. But if you want to lose 2 stone, even that can seem like a lot of weight. But if you break it down into how many pounds do I need to lose per week to get that weight by so-and-so, then it becomes a lot more achievable. And then, as long as you stay on track with the current goal, the end one will sort itself out.
Awesome, guys. I hope that has made you want to set goals. Right. Thank you for a great interview, Charlotte. So where can people find out about a bit more about you and keep following you?
I've got 2 websites. My personal website is www.charlotteord.com and then my gym is www.phoenixprofitness.com. That's Phoenix, Phoenix, and then profitness.com.
So if you're ever in Guildford, come check her out. But if you're near me, keep training with me.
Yeah.
Okay.